Hi everyone, my name is Maria Durban, and throughout the last 6 months I've been teaching English in a primary school for my Practicum V for university. I've been extremely lucky because both my mentors at school and university have supported and helped me throughout all these months. But besides this, I must say that all the students I've been teaching to have been extremely good to me, and I feel like I've learned a lot from them. At first, I was a bit concerned about introducing a project-based learning in a school and in an environment where students, not teachers, are used to this kind of projects or teaching. I was really overwhelmed because sometimes things didn't turn out as I expected them, and it was hard to manage situations that were not planned. I feel like getting out of my comfort zone was one of the things that I've done the most throughout all this practicum, but personally I think that it's been good for me and for my future as a teacher. Once more, I was able to put theory into practice, but personally it was the first time I was using project-based learning in the English classroom, because in the past I had done so, but in physical education, which is extremely different. And I realized that in the English classroom there's things that differ a lot. For instance, I had to prepare a lot more material, including scaffolding, and I had to deal with this predisposition that students have that English is so difficult and it's really hard and they don't feel engaged with the subject. So I had to have that click in their minds in which they had to think of English as a tool to communicate instead of some stuff they learned to later on do an exam. This was really hard, but I think that in the end I managed to do it, and they enjoyed the project and they kind of forgot they were learning English when they were actually learning a lot. I would say that after this practicum I'm able to improvise a lot more and to adapt to these kind of problems that happen in the classroom without you expecting them. So I feel like this is one of the strategies and one of the things that I've learned the most throughout this practicum. As I've said before, one of the things that have changed throughout this practicum is my confidence. I feel like now I'm much more able to improvise and use a lot of strategies that I thought they were far too difficult for me. So I think this is one of the things that has changed in me, as well as my motivation and my eagerness to improve, to think out of the box and to get out of my comfort zone, which personally, I'm not a huge fan of technology, and that's why perhaps before I had not introduced it so much in my lessons. However, since I was pushed to do it and to get out of my comfort zone, I found out that it's really important to use it. First, because it makes your lessons a lot more dynamic and fun. It keeps your students interested because for them technology it's like a synonym of joy and excitement. And third, it's really good because it includes all kind of learning styles. You can have students move around, read, watch videos, produce those videos, and it's really important because then all students feel included and engaged in them. However, something really difficult for me was having technology present in the classroom, but not as an object of learning. Instead, having it as a means of learning so that students could use in an autonomous way that technology in order to learn about something else. That is quite a difficult task, I think, but eventually I think I managed to do so. What I did was give them iPads, which is the gadget that they have around the classroom, and they've got a lot of them to have at least one per group, and they had that to gather information, translate, watch videos, etc. However, on top of that, I used iPads to introduce virtual reality in the classroom, because they had to find information about countries without actually going there, and the project was called Virtual Trips. I thought virtual reality was really appropriate for us to use in the project. So what they did is virtually travel to that country they were investigating. So what I got from this is that technology is to be introduced in the lessons with a meaning. It has to be done in a meaningful way, not just because it's like innovation or it's like what others do. It has to have a purpose in the lesson, and if you do it like that, you'll have the outcome that you want and even more. One of my main expectations before studying the practicum was to gain strategies for language teaching, and I would say that I've definitely acquired this expectation. I fulfilled it because I feel like now I'm much more ready to teach English without even planning so much. I was quite worried I would not be able to attend all language levels because in the school I was in, just within a classroom we had so many different levels of English. So I was quite scared that I would not be able to give each children what they needed. However, I found that by using collaboration and group work, I achieved this expectation that I was fearing so much. Because children were helping each other and they didn't need me so much, and then that's when I had more time to attend these children that had lower command of English. So I think I would say this expectation has been fulfilled. As I've been saying before, English is something that students regard as really difficult, useless, boring. And for me, it was really hard to change this perception they had towards English. However, I would say that I managed to do it because the activities that we used were so different from the ones they used to. So moving from the book to something that had them be responsible for something, like they were the responsibles for their own project and presentation. They were working in groups and they had to push each other to work harder, to improve, to speak English, and each of them had a role, so that had them like a bit more motivated, which I think was key. And I'm really happy I used the group work because it moved from the teacher being the main protagonist to them being the main protagonist, and I think they liked that and they changed their perceptions. Something else I was aiming to do was getting out of my comfort zone, which I think I definitely did because first of all, I was not keen on using technology because, as I said before, it's not something I'm really used at. Besides that, I was pushed to think out of the box and go further in my possibilities, which I did, and in the end the outcome was extremely positive. So I'm happy I was pushed to improve and make the most of my abilities, which I'm really grateful for. Some of my thoughts after carrying out this practicum are regarding time management. I think I'm not too aware yet that when you think you're gonna spend 10 minutes doing something, it will eventually be 20 minutes. I think I'm getting there, but it's something quite difficult for us as teachers because we don't have so much time and we have so many ideas to implement. But sometimes less is more, and I think this is something I have acquired during this practicum. Another thing is that I've always wanted to promote inclusion in my classroom, and I didn't realize that even though you promote inclusion in your classroom, students should not be treated equally because they all have different needs, different personalities, different ways of working. So sometimes I felt because I would always treat all the students the same, and sometimes that's not how it should be. So I think that now I've learned that each student has their own needs, and as a teacher I should know when to give them what they want or not. This is something I definitely need to work on more, but I've done that change in my mind now, so I think I'll work on it in the future. And last but not least, when planning the project, I found it extremely hard to create all my own materials and make them creative and original, and that sometimes was like really hard and stressful for me. But I found that if you don't put such effort when planning, then that will have an effect on the results. So I've realized that it is of extreme importance to regard the planning and give it a lot more importance than it's usually. So that's one of the things I've found out, and I will definitely have it into account in the future. So all in all, I would say it's been a very positive experience, for which I've had to work a lot. But even though sometimes I didn't realize it was necessary, in the end, it's been so much worth it, and I've learned a lot. Also, I must say that the monitoring at school and at university as well has been good, even though not always it was in my thoughts. The seminars were extremely helpful because we could share information, we got ideas from each other, and this was really helpful. And I'm quite moved by the thought that this is my last practicum and then next I'll be a teacher, but I think I'm finally ready to be a teacher, and I cannot wait to put all this knowledge into practice by being the main responsible teacher. I think it's gonna be good and I cannot wait for it. Thank you.